Hello, class. So it's Alex and I, the TAs, back at it again. We just wanted to quickly go over Chapter 8 with, a few of the homework questions on Chapter 8 and kind of explain why they are the way that they are and the reasoning behind some of these questions. So we're going to go over two problems. The first one I'm going to go over, which is regional trade agreements, which you guys should have learned about, the difference between a free trade area, a customs union, and a single market. So basically, I'm just going to go over the table and explain why it would be true or false. So in the first question, it says under regional trade agreements, several countries eliminate tariffs among themselves and lower tariffs amongst all other countries. That's false, and the reason why is when there are regional trade agreements, countries eliminate tariffs amongst themselves, but they're going to maintain or keep those tariffs with other outside countries. They don't lower them, so that's why that one would be false. The second one, under GATT, countries can enter into regional trade agreements if they do not jointly increase their tariffs against outside countries. That's true. Specifically under GATT, countries are allowed to, enter in a regional trade agreement, but they can't raise together outside tariffs against other countries. The third one, the countries of the European Union maintain a common schedule of tariffs with countries outside the EU. That would be true. And this kind of follows suit with a little bit of the last statement, and that's countries within a customs union, for example, the EU, do agree to a common schedule of tariffs with countries outside the union. Now, the other ones, for instance, a good that Mexico imports from China can be shipped duty-free to the United States. That's false. And the reason why that's false is because it has to do with the rules of origin. And rules of origin specify the type of good that can be shipped duty-free. So, for instance, a product can be shipped duty-free within NAFTA, but the production has to have had occurred in one of the countries in NAFTA. So that would be either the US, Mexico, or Canada, not an outside country. But for the fifth one, countries that enter into a free trade agreement maintain a common schedule of tariff with countries outside that agreement. That's false, and that's because it's a free trade agreement, not a customs union like the other statement in this kind of block, the European Union one. And finally, custom unions have complex rules of origin that specify what types of goods can be shipped duty free within the union. That is false. And this one is because customs unions do not. All members in customs union maintain the same tariffs with countries outside the union. So that's a little bit of number one. And now I'm going to turn it over to Alex, and he's going to go over number four.
Hey, I'm gonna cover a little bit about number 4, which basically starts off with the graphic or with the supply and demand curve that should look kind of similar to this. So in this case, the country that is small and can't impact the price is Hungary. But I know Cengage likes to switch up the countries, but essentially the problem does not change. And you have here Italy and Australia kind of competing against each other. So for the first question, they said what's basically the exports under free trade and or imports with free trade, excuse me, I meant imports. So then it would be the cheapest one, which would be basically, when you look here, this supply from Australia, where they can supply at a cost of 0.8, so 80 cents per bushel per thousand, whatever a unit is, it's the cheapest. So what I do is basically here draw this line here, which would basically be equal to a demand supplied of 3, a quantity supplied of 3, but quantity demanded of 27. So the math basically just be equal to 27 minus 3. So basically just the length of this curve. So they're perfectly elastic supplies, and that would be equal to 24, which would be basically the answer to number 1 with free trade. Then the second question is with tariffs. So you would look both Australia with tariff, and then you have Italy with tariff. So again, you would go with the cheaper one, which would be once again the Australian price, which would be up here. And the same exact thing, quantity demanded minus quantity supplied. So it would be 21 minus 9. I hope you guys can read. Maybe I'll make it smaller. So it would be 21 minus 9, which should be equal to how much is that? I don't want to make a calculus mistake. Is it frozen? Oh no.
I think it was. Just double check. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 21 minus 9, which should be 12.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
the last one is the third question is with custom unions. In this case, we're given that Italy and Hungary, they form a custom union. So that means Hungary will drop all the tariffs on Italy. So that means now, let me get rid of those, we would be basically phasing this, the supply curve, because now it's cheaper than Australia with the tariff. So let's say even if they have the union, however, Australia with the tariff is still cheaper, then regardless of the union, they would still import from Australia. But in this case, the Italian price without a tariff is cheaper than the Australian price with the tariff. So it's the same exact thing. You look, it intersects at the price of 24 here and 6 here. So it would be again 24 minus 6, which should be 18. Let me just write that down. It's very simple math. 24 minus 6 equals 18. And that's the answer to the first part of this question. So basically just based on this graph, you kind of have to look at the price, kind of see what the cheapest is regarding your situation, if it's free trade, if it's trade with tariff, or if it's trade under a trade union. It's just showing you these different types of prices and how much you would actually import for these prices. And like in this class, you've done a million times, just calculate this distance. Now, Justin will talk a little bit about the consumption and production effects that these different prices have.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these, triangles and basically the consumption effect, the production effect, trade creation effect, and the trade diversion effect. So if you're looking at either the Cengage or what Alex has up there, we see that we have two triangles and a rectangle. So it's kind of trying to get us to identify which is what. So if you take a look, before Hungary enters this custom union, they basically they're importing from Australia because they can import at a lower price that with the tariff than with Italy. But now after they enter this customs union, basically the tariff gets dropped. So now they can enter this trade with Italy and basically obtain the bushels at a lower price and at a greater quantity. So if we were to look and we were to draw across that line right where it says Australia, I think it's the supply plus the tariff. And if we go down now to where that supply with Italy is without the tariff, we can basically see that if we go over to our demand curve, originally when we had Australia, we were paying at a higher price. I can't see exactly what that is. I think it's a 2.4.
Yes.
And yeah, and now we're at a lower price and at a higher quantity. So basically, when we take that 24 minus 21 and then we multiply that by the change in price, that'll get us the area of basically how much more Hungary is able to consume now. So that would be the consumption effect. Basically, they're facing a lower import price now. It's going to increase its consumption by 3,000 bushels because 24 minus 21 is 3,000. Now, on the other hand, since they're importing, now they're going to be producing less. So basically, if we, kind of just take a flip flop to the other side, that triangle A over there is going to be basically the production effect. So eliminating this tariff barrier against Italy now means that they're gonna Hungary's producers now compete against the lower cost or more efficient Italian producers. So basically, it's just going to be the opposite effect. So that 9,000 minus 6,000, where they were producing before versus where they'd be producing now, that's going to be the production effect. Now, the trade creation effect, this is going to be the overall effect that's provided from the net improvement of price. So, in essence, what it's going to be is that overall effect of basically now entering this customs union with Italy. And so that's going to be the sum of both of that A and that B. So basically those two triangles. While on the other hand, the trade diversion effect is basically that effect that's showing us that um, simply, Italy might not be the most efficient producer. It might be Australia that might be the more efficient producer. But given that the tariffs are cut, so there is no tariff with Italy, we're basically going to be trading with a partner that isn't as efficient. So that whole C down there, which is basically the total volume of trade increases under the customs union, as we said, compared to the trade with a tariff for all suppliers. So basically, that 21,000 minus the 9,000, and then the change in price of the two curves right there. So basically, the SITA and the SAUS. That's going to give us the trade diversion effect. So basically, that whole area right there is the trade diversion effect. So yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
well,
And
that was it. And I hope that answered some questions.
thank
Thank
you
you.
guys.